Hope you're having an awesome day today. We've got a nice group of people with us. It's a mastermind, and we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, where we're at with it, and according to the real estate world, right? What can we use? What should we expect? How advanced is it? And then on a local level, we'd also like to see, how are you using it? How are we using it? So we'll ask some questions to you too. We've got Elena Flores. She's with the organization with EXP. She's a real estate agent out of the Temecula area, and she's been an agent for a while. She does a great job, by the way. Elena, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Tristan. Doing well. Doing well.
She's also got a cute little
Excited
pineapple
to learn.
and a penguin on her right-hand side, which I always love. By the way, I've got something too, Elena. I've got these little items right here. Chris is out of place because he has nothing except a white wall, but he also knows a lot more about AI than we do. He teaches, consults all across the United States. In fact, he's doing that today. This is why he's traveling out where he's at in SoCal. And he took some time to come in and show us what's up with AI. So, Chris, I'll go to you first, man. Give us like the state of the union, but for artificial intelligence. Where are we at with it?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's fascinating. Just for a little bit of context, I'll speak to kind of like 50 to 1,000 CEOs per month, just depending on what the event is. I spoke at an event last week, which was 220 private equity firms around how they can install artificial intelligence, work with their teams and all the companies they invest in, and then doing groups of CEOs and some company stuff this week. And the kind of high level, when we think about AI, on one piece, there's lots of advancements, but a lot of times we as like, say, real estate agent, we're not seeing what those advancements do because they're advancements in the bedrock technology and what's happening and what's moving. On one piece, we see a lot of AI fatigue, and we talk about this, the ChatGPT fatigue or AI fatigue of, hey, okay, we hear about this all the time on the news and we're hearing it's changing everything, but I'm still using the same ChatGPT. What am I doing differently in my world? How is it changing my world? And that's one of the big gaps between what the technology can do and the great, amazing user experiences that people are coming out with and developing and rolling out. And we're still seeing at the consumer level, as far as like what we can use as a real estate agent, it's still a lot of like marketing creation, generative AI, and not necessarily workflow AI. Workflow AI is a fascinating process of having AI understand and guide human nuance and take care of tasks and put humans in the middle for verification, but it does a lot of things. And so a couple different things that have been kind of changing. One piece, and some of this may be super applicable, but I think it's good to know. We've thought in the past about like Moore's law, which is the idea of computing power doubling every couple of years. And that was the advancements in computing. Right now, there's the same types of things happening, whereas like NVIDIA just had a news story come out that they found a new way to process that saves 50% of all the processing power for training these AI models. And that is kind of a little bit of a mind-blowing statistic when you think about they're using the same chip, and just by tweaking an algorithm, now things happen on half the power and twice as fast. And so things are getting faster and cheaper, not necessarily because of computing power getting better, but because of application and how they're approaching a lot of the learning and the training. And the more that we can train and the cheaper we can train, the faster and cheaper the products become and the faster things will roll out that we can use, which is, so these are bedrock pieces, but they're fascinating. Some other things that have been changing is there's over 100 large language models that are in production use. You think of like GPT-4 is one, GPT 3.5 is one. I mean, there's all these different ones. You have Llama and Llama 2, but they're getting better and more specific. Like we have some of the best coding large language models that we've ever seen have just come out. And like we're getting some really specific trained ones for industries, like Amazon's healthcare one that understands all the healthcare terminology and a lot of the different codes and things in the healthcare world. And we've also seen, Tristan, you and I have talked to a lot of companies that have really specific domain training, like say for real estate models and for what they're doing, what they're rolling out. Some other things that we've seen a lot more just conversation around the last couple of months is this technical term, but super fascinating what it does. It's called a semantic layer. And it's the idea of teaching a system the way we talk, not the data that's in there. Like, I don't have to go look for a report and go click on something and figure out how many leads came in, what's the conversion, who should I call. A semantic layer is where an AI piece is in the middle, and you can just talk to it and say, hey, what's my conversion rate? What's this? Where are the most leads that have returned and this? And it just gives you the information because it understands your language. And those are getting faster and easier to program, where you're teaching that AI system the language so it can look at your database and look at all your information, just give you what you want. And then you can start talking to it even with actions. If you put it in actions of, hey, find me all the people that I haven't talked to in the last 60 days that have looked at a property, and then create a message that's individual for each one of them and queue it up so I could review it and then send them. Those types of things are kind of what's on the horizon. It's getting faster and easier, but still where we've seen is the amazing experiences, like forcing somebody to go hunt and peck on a McDonald's order screen, or giving us something that shows the last 4 things that they ordered and suggests, here's what we could do for you. I mean, the experience and the emotional adoption is where the real acceleration is, even though there's lots of fancy things happening on the bedrock as far as the technology changing itself. And then we'll talk in a little bit about some different programs and things that you're using and we're using. But it's still a very, very exciting time as far as what's happening and where it's going. We still see, if I go and talk to groups, say, of 50 CEOs, I still probably see 1 or maybe 2 that understand even what you can do as far as putting together these great experiences where AIs guide processes, not just generate text or generate a picture. Those are still great and getting advancements, but these next pieces, they're there, and some people are attacking it. And the technology's there, and almost anything is possible. We have still never run into any project that's been asked that's not technically feasible. It's who's going to lean in and who's going to build that great experience.
I thought when we first started talking about AI, I really thought that we would reach where I thought we would be faster. And it's interesting that we haven't gotten there as fast as I thought. And one thing that you mentioned in the explanation, we're missing the process, right? Because it's all right now, it's all prompts, right? It's like, well, where's the meat, right? I feel like that's what's missing, yes. Dude. Like, what happened? I thought we were going to get here faster. So I agree with you. I do see that. Elena, how are you seeing AI being used as a real estate agent in general?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was sharing this with Chris before we actually went live. Besides using it for social media, I know that I struggle as a real estate agent on taking it to the next level. Like, what I want to know is how can AI help me with lead generation and lead follow-up? And how do I implement that in my business? So I think that's tough for real estate agents to apply that to their business, aside from just the regular normal ChatGPT search.
Got it. And that goes back to our conversation. And I'll show you how, by the way, how it looks. But that goes back to our conversation. It's like, well, where's the meat? And I think this is where it's taken the companies that are helping our industry, it's taken them a lot longer to put into play. Some of them, they've already been working there for a longer time. So you see them now working better, like Raya or Ylopo, or Chime's got their AI that responds to some leads, right? It's machine learning. But the way that Chris and I talked about it at the beginning was, look, I would like to text my AI assistant and have him write up a contract and send it to DocuSign and to my clients, right? So very interconnected with my CAR forms for CAR for California, very connected with my CRM, right? So it can talk. This is why, Chris, when you're talking about it, it's like, first, it's got to be integrated. It's like a lot of steps. And then it's got to know how I function in the city and state that I'm in. So there's a lot of pieces that are missing that are layers that we'll eventually get to, but we're still I think we're still further than I thought originally away from actually implementing it. But Elena, you're right. I think for now, we're seeing very superficial ways of using it. And there are some companies out there that we gravitate to more than others for using these products. So April's got a great question. April says, can AI be truly creative? Or what are the best ways to use automate AI to create our social media and marketing collaterals? April, I'll take that first, and then I'll go through what everyone thinks here. It can be creative, but the creativity depends on the data points that it touches. So this is why like Chat GPT, like OpenAI keeps on growing. The more data points it touches, the more creative it can be and take on its own form. Right now, I think the ability for it to be as human, or even in the future, more human, right, than capabilities are right now. I think that's the beautiful piece, because now you're tapping into a collective of brilliant data, all created by humans, right, or inputted eventually. And I think that's where you start creating something brand new. I don't know that we're there yet with all the different data points. You still need humans to prompt it. And in some cases, you have AI prompting itself, but the creativity is lacking. We'll eventually get there. Chris, what do you think as far as creativity on its own?
So this might go a little too deep. I'll paste a picture here, which is it may not be helpful, but I think it kind of shows. Let's see if I can paste on here. Okay, I'm going to figure out how to upload this in just a second. They can be. I've seen systems that can be very uniquely creative and mimic human processes and go out and find other ideas, and then they're told to come up with an idea that doesn't exist in their memory at all. And so in a sense, it's chaining together these other processes. So I think they can absolutely be fully creative. They can have what we would consider original thought, something that we have never trained it, that it has to come up with something that it's never heard or seen before. I very much agree with you that it's what it's connected to, but it's also how it's prompted. And having some control, you can do it with like GPT-4, with Chat GPT. When I've seen some people, and I'll go back to kind of David Shapiro. David Shapiro is an AI implementer, but he's also an AI theorist. And so some of the stuff goes so deep, you can spend hours and kind of wake up with your head in spaghetti. But he has some really, really good thoughts on how you put these systems together that truly do think. And they come up with their own thoughts, and those become part of their memory. And then they come up with new thoughts on top of that, much like we do. But that's architecture. It's AI architecture of how you put it together, how you store its memory, and then what it's doing next. That's like the super deep explanation. I think it can very much be originally creative. In using it in marketing and process with the tools that we have today that all of us can touch, it's very much what is it connected to and what are you prompting it with? And you can do some cool stuff now by connecting to and I'll pick on OpenAI because a lot of us, we talk about ChatGPT and it's so easy to use. But you can connect to that API through like Zapier or some of these low code or no code tools, and you can feed it 20, 30 pages of information with a prompt to get something, sometimes really spectacular out of it for social media or for creation or for content. And so that combines prompt with how you're connecting it. But I'm still fascinated on kind of that deeper rabbit hole of once all of us can play with some of those fancier architectures, what we can have it do. And we've seen some like personal.ai where that gives you some of the architecture a little bit deeper, where you start to give it a few more things and it has a memory. So you don't have to kind of build it yourself. But that's one of the few that has that capability today.
I like that. What about you, Elena? What do you think from what you've used? You're muted.
There you go. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
I use it. I'm very intimidated by it. I use it at a very, very entry level way. So mostly for my social media and for responding to emails. But I was very fascinated by our call yesterday. Was it Brian that we were?
Dave. It was Dave.
Dave. I was just fascinated by how he has implemented social media, AI into his day-to-day.
Yeah, I like that. And I'll go into that, Chris. And I know you've seen this before, but if I'm going to go in and demonstrate, I think some of the things that we can all do immediately here is, since we're all using, for the most part, ChatGPT, right? If we can go and take a look at, I'm going to just open up my window because I prompted this already. Here it is. So if I'm here on OpenAI, this is GPT-4. I'm on GPT-4. I want this specific window, because there's a lot of other windows on the left here. This specific one, I want it to be all about me. And I said, ask questions that will get you to know me better so you can function better as me, so that responses and content creation reflect a better version of me, right? And so you can reword that however you want. The idea is, though, now I'm going to answer all of these questions right here that it came up with. And then once I answer all those, then underneath, I'm going to let it know, hey, now this means you're going to function as me, right, Tristan? And every time I ask you any question below, you're going to function like a version of me that we just went through. And then now if I go and respond to an email or post up social media, post of anything, I'm going to already be further along the lines and starting a brand new chat over here on GPT-4 and saying, hey, write me a newsletter or write me a post about, and then it's very generalized. But over here, it's more specific. And that's something that I think we all need to do a lot more of. Right. What did you just upload, Chris? What was that?
So what this is, super, super confusing. It's kind of the point, but these are architectures like what a lot of the AI theorists are putting together. And these are working architectures that show how, instead of having a chat GPT, and again, we're not going to go through this, but it kind of shows how you can think of building a human, how a human really thinks, where you have long-term memories, episodic memories, you have the actual imagery as far as it's understanding what it thinks about a topic and then accessing its different parts. Because we have emotional memory, we have long-term memory, we have short-term memory, and we're filtering all these things. So this is the next level. This is kind of like on the road to artificial general intelligence. And what a lot of us are looking for is kind of past GPT. We want something that'll start doing things for us. And these are the types of programs that do that, where they start to remember. And some of these, like, it looks super confusing, but the idea of that like semantic layer of what am I talking about, not what is it called in my system, that's the idea of semantic. We teach it so we can just talk to it. And then the episodic memory is the idea of, hey, one episode is we're talking in this webinar. What did I learn from this? What did you learn from this? What did we go through? And we remember things in episodes as far as what we went through. And so it's a different way of putting some of these systems together. It's not just a big database of all this chat GPT information. It's trying to build the experience the way that we actually deal with it, so we can have it take care of things the way that we do. Like understanding each client's different, how we relate to them is different, and the information about what they're looking for is different. And so it's a super complicated image kind of just to show, but this is why some of these things are so hard to build. We want these experiences, but behind the scenes, some of it can be so technical still, even though all those pieces exist and you can put them together today.
Dude, I love where we're going here, because now when you show something like this and people start understanding, your camera keeps on flickering.
Weird.
It's like your AI, Chris. Come on. Is this real Chris?
Yeah.
Which Chris are we talking to? All right, Chris.
I can't say.
As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this is going to be really good, but it's also going to allow us to be able to go deeper in verticals. And I'm going to use a real estate vertical and compare it to, let's say, the finance vertical. Okay. 2. If we build something like this specifically for a real estate AI bot, then I'm going to be able to rely on it a lot more than, say, someone that has been trained to do finances, right? And I think that might be the first level that we get to eventually, because one that encompasses all different types of businesses is going to be a little bit more difficult, because it requires us to be able to build them out. So I think if we start off, we even have to probably, Chris, we even have to say, hey, you're only great at responding to online leads from Google PPC. Let's build that layer out first, right? And then dude, we can start a business on this eventually. Like, hey, we just built out whatever it's called, AI, and this is going to be amazing. And this is what it's going to do on real estate, right? You've got one for contracts. Eventually, you've got one for this. You've got one for that. I like where it's going, but I think that is the necessary first layer before I get to anything that we've read in Isaac Asimov's books, where it's a full-on AI robot who's my friend and be like, yo, write me a whole book and have it ready for tomorrow since you don't sleep, right? And have it be about this. And then, oh yeah, dude, we're not even close to having someone edit a video yet, because it's just like, have you seen the stuff that's out there? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't go well. This makes sense. I love it.
Very cool. And can I respond to what April said here really quick?
Yeah.
April says that when using AI with a tool like Zapier to automate emails, is there any control towards making sure emails are PC and aren't offending an email recipient? Or are we truly waiting for AI to kind of get to know us or to learn to talk like us? Again, just opinion on this. There's two things that I see in working with lots of different companies on this, that most people are building these systems with human in the middle. That when there's a revenue conversation on the line, trusting a system to formulate something that's exactly you. Now, if it's a marketing message, you can have a 2% error rate, go for it. I mean, you're dealing with masses and there's always going to be some little missteps. But when it's a client or a lead or a prospect you're engaged with, that these systems queue it up, but that a human can still go through and say, yes, that's good. Yes, that's great. Yes, that's awesome. Let's change that one. But at that speed, somebody can do hundreds an hour, thousands a day from verification standpoint. So having a human in the middle from a trust factor. The other piece is sometimes, and again, this gets a little technical, but people chain them together. They'll have one model, like a GPT-4 or ChatGPT, to create the message. Or you can bounce it off like a personal AI where you put hundreds of pages of your text in there or something like that, so it has more of your message. But then you have that go to a second model that is only built for verification. Is there anything in this that anybody could find offensive or not politically correct? Or is there any language here that could be triggering? And when you have it go then through a prompt like that and it comes out with a yes or a no, you have a verification step, and then it can get queued up for a human. And so we see, instead of just doing a one shot where letting ChatGPT respond to all of your emails or respond to all of your leads, it's kind of let that create the message and let a second one, which costs a tenth of a penny, verify and say, is there anything wrong with this? Does this sound supernatural? Just give me a Y or an N. And that goes back to traditional automation of, if it's yes, queue it up. And if it's not, send it back through and have it do it again.
That is key. I like that. And the human aspect to this is going to be there for a while. That's what I've realized, man. It's like, it's going to be so long before the human is just removed from a lot of this. It's just too complicated so far. We don't have enough to build on yet, but we will get there. I think the key to this right now is finding the right tools to be able to use AI for our benefit, right? And I'll give you an example. There's a friend of ours, Elena, friend of ours. Her name is Valerie. Valerie is Van de Zilver. I was talking to her about AI, and she says, because of our webinars and systems that we put in place, she said, hey, I got this report back from a doctor, so I decided to just upload it into ChatGPT and have it explain it to me in layman's terms. So when I went back to the doctor, I explained to him what I understood, and the doctor was like, how the hell do you understand this from that? She's like, I use ChatGPT. I was like, that's brilliant. I didn't even think of doing that.
I love that.
But Val's so smart. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's the purpose of doing these as well. Like we want to, this is why we love Chris. We bring in Chris to give us this high level understanding of where we're at, where it's going, right? And then we also want to know, well, what are the practical uses right now? What are the things that we can be using? Chris, one of those was Merlin. I mean, you're the one who told me about Merlin like the week it came out. And I don't know why it took me so damn long to finally use it, but I did. And I now have it as an extension. I use it on everything. So it pops up. Merlin pops up everywhere. And for those of you who don't know what Merlin is, grab it. It's an extension to your Chrome browser. And it pops up a little AI option for almost every website you're on, even Google searches. it's been really good. Chris, how are you using something like Merlin?
So I use Merlin because I don't want to go copy and paste everything. So when I want to understand something very quickly, to just highlight a bunch and say, summarize this. Like when I'm reading large articles, some of them are super important. I want to read them, but many of them, I want the 3-sentence summary so I can go through 100 articles instead of reading 2. And so I'll go ahead and just highlight the page and say, give me a quick summary. Obviously, you and I were talking, I don't do much social media. And so, but it can be used for a tremendous amount of social media. And so reading, understanding things, not having to go through and find everything yourself. It's one of those just speeds up so you don't have to kind of save everything and then move it over and start a chat in GPT-4. And for me, saving 2/3 of the click saves 2/3 of the time. And so just getting faster, and Merlin keeps rolling out more features. And those are the places that I like, because GPT-4 is great, but when you have a company like Merlin building tons of additional features around it, you can still use GPT-4, but you get their brains and what all their customers are requesting as well. So for me, it's mostly a reading and a summarization tool. I know you can use it for some research things as well. I don't necessarily do that as much.
I don't use it for research, but if I open up Facebook, like this, right, you see that's Merlin right there. It's just allowing me to just do more. I can create something, and without Merlin, that doesn't pop up right there. And it pops up everywhere, even on Google searches. Like, what should we type up on Google? Elon Musk new book, right? Typically on the right, you'll see it. There it is. It starts popping up, and it starts giving you items there. So I think that's really, we're starting a new chat, continue the conversation. I think that's amazing. Now with ChatGPT, let's go to ChatGPT. I've got some tabs open up here, and I'm going to go to each of you. Chris, how are you using GPT 3.5 or GPT-4? How are you using it?
So I use it, as probably a lot of us do, for a lot of different content, for creating things, editing things. I tend to spend a lot of time to kind of try and get the nuance of a message right. And so I'm training myself that instead of spending a couple minutes on a message, go there, paste it in, say, here's the tone I want, here's the goal I want to get from this, here's what I want to avoid, and see what it comes up with. And so that piece, but also I've started using a lot more of the advanced data analysis. So when you have GPT-4, and then if you click that drop down right there, and click on, can you jump over into your settings? And settings and beta features, you have advanced. Can you do a new chat and start an advanced data analysis?
There we go.
So go up to GPT-4 and then there you go, advanced data analysis. So I've been using this a lot because now you get the plus button there. So now you can upload files and have it work with files. And so for what I do, I mean, you can upload an Excel spreadsheet and have it manipulate the sheet, understand the sheet, and take things from the sheet. So if you're doing an export and you want it to filter and do things with it, but also some of the things that have been a little more technical. Now I'll give a couple warnings on this, but like you can upload resumes. And if you have a good prompt for, hey, can you let me know if this person is a good fit for this type of position? Here's what we're looking for. Here's a type of experience. And can you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, blah, blah, blah. You can get some really good like resume analysis or reading things and understanding things where you can give it files. You just have to be careful, because if you let it make a decision for you, it might make a decision on the wrong thing. So it's still human verification, human in the middle. But those are tasks that we've seen have been really hard to get AI to do, because it can't handle if you throw out PDF files and Word files. And now with some of these tools like this, you start sending it files and having it do things with it.
Got it. You know, on that, I'm starting to see a brand new, you know what? I'll skip to that one. Elena, how are you using GPT 3.5 or 4?
I'm using regular chat GPT. Oh my God. I'm so basic. Honestly, I'm so basic.
That's good. That's good.
I do need to graduate.
We all need to see where we would start, right? So I think if we're going to you and you're just starting to use it, how have you been using Chat GPT? And is that the first place you go?
It is the first place I go. Yes. I have been wanting to mess a little bit with Merlin. So I just haven't yet. But again, mostly for my social media and like responding to emails. I do type in certain articles that I want to understand, and I'll just ask it to break it down in simple terms for me. So I'm using AI in a real basic form right now, but I am so excited to just take it to the next level. And I think a lot of people that are on here are kind of where I'm at, where we're really basic at the moment, and we're
Mhm.
trying to just understand it and go, okay, where do we go from here
Got it.
as a real estate
So,
agent?
so then if I'm looking at that and saying here are the three places you can start. Number one is everyone knows ChatGPT, right? The second one would probably be, let me go, probably Bard, only because it's free, it's Google, it's trusted, it's super easy, right? I still feel like Bard doesn't give you the same responses as ChatGPT. I feel like ChatGPT is just more sophisticated, right? But Google's catching up, and I think they've got the resources to eventually catch up and surpass. But who knows? They do a great job. And let's just type in something really quick. Plan an open house for a real estate agent and give me details about what the agent should do before and during the open house. Let's see what happens. So it also works a little differently. It spits it all out at one time instead of just gradually giving it to you like it's thinking, right? Which I think is kind of cool that ChatGPT pretend it's thinking through everything.
One of the things I learned from you, Tristan, is learn to ask better questions
Yeah.
with
And that's
with AI.
prompting, right? I think that's key. Here's the cute difference. You get three drafts, right? And then obviously it's Google, right? So you have these options right here. It's share and export. So I can export it to a Google Doc or draft it in an email if it's an email response that I'm doing. That's the cool thing, and it's free. And then the third one, I was just telling you, Chris, about this one. You've got to test it out. It's Claude AI. But it's, let me go back to the beginning part of this so you can see these are probably the three that I would this is the main screen right here. And I uploaded a doc. Let's just re-upload. It's an RPA. It's a real estate purchase agreement for California. And as it's uploading it, it'll do something similar to what you were mentioning on the beta. There it is. I can start a new chat around it. It'll give me a summary of it, and then I can ask it questions about the contract. I can be like, hey, what does 14 mean? Can you summarize 14 there for me? And I love that aspect to it. It'll take a little bit of time to load. It's not as fast as ChatGPT. There it is. But it's going to give me a summary and even says, this is actually a full contract, guys. And it's already pre-written and it's summarizing it for me. So this is what I'm talking about, Chris. If we can get here faster, I want an assistant who can write this damn contract for me already and just submit it. And I'd be like, let me just review it really quick, right? But it's giving me all the terms. And those are the three: Claude, ChatGPT, and Bard. And they all function the same. But Chris, I'm going to go to you on this. What makes these companies different? Is it really the engineers behind the software? How they're piecing together the machine learning, or what's the difference?
Again, just opinion. Part of it is how it's trained. Part of it is what it's connected to. So for me, doing online research, Bard is much more flexible than ChatGPT, because if I go ask Bard something, it's the AI NLP engine, but it's also searching the internet. So it's searching for me, finding the right pages, sending me the results. Whereas inside of ChatGPT, they removed that function of search with Bing, where you were searching the internet and getting those at the same time. So I use them for different things. for me, they're so similar right now because it's an arms race. And so everybody is in this arms race to roll out the features the other person did. And what I've seen right now is that the differences between them, like we see which ones we like better, but in the big scope, it's kind of like rounding errors. Somebody will come out with an amazing feature. If it gets a ton of adoption, then the next competitor will roll it out. And so they all have so many developers working on this. But we haven't seen now with what ChatGPT did with their plugins is something that has been very different than what Bard or Claude has done by giving kind of this open access. But that's turned into a little bit of a crap storm because you've got now 120 pages of things to scroll through, and you don't even know what to trust and what to do. So just because those plugins are there, it doesn't mean it's super useful to all of us. So it's kind of that. It's the dot-com boom times 10. And so we're seeing all these things flood the market. So for me, I am all Bard or ChatGPT when it comes to a lot of these different pieces. I haven't seen one to be drastically different than another, except for some of these minute use cases that are very specific.
Interesting. I still feel, so I agree with you. I still feel like when I ask ChatGPT something, the prompt, I don't need to be as specific with the prompt as I need to be with Bard. Even though Bard, I feel, has a lot more data it reaches, right? Because it's the internet. I feel like I don't have to be as smart when asking the question to ChatGPT. And I don't know if that's why I asked, like, who's designing the user interface and making it easier for ask questions so that they know what we mean. Right. So makes sense. All right. Let me see here. I want to show you something. Oh, last thing on Claude, because I did what you were telling me to do on ChatGPT, but I uploaded the agreement. There it is. And then I said, hey, do me a favor. Can you summarize paragraph 14 and make it easy for me to understand here with fifth grade language, right? And so I did. And it said, hey, within 7 days after accepting the buyer's offer, the seller needs to give the buyer important papers. Important papers. Guys, this is important. Don't screw it up, fifth grade language. I love this, man. And so this is the cool thing about AI. It's like, if you don't understand something or you need to explain it better to clients, grab it from here. All right, with that, I wanted to show some of my favorite things. Let me go to Gamma. I don't know if you've used Gamma or not, Chris or Elena.
For presentations, yes.
Oh, dude, I love Gamma. I love it so much that I finally paid for it because I've been using the free version for a long time. So I'm going to go to create a new one. It says generate doc, deck, or website. It's Gamma app, by the way, everyone. And here, this is how easy it is. It says, what do you want to do? I'm going to go with a presentation. And then what should the presentation be about, guys? Let's just come up with one. Chris, Elena, what should we do a presentation about?
AI for the real estate space?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. How about, go ahead.
AI for the real estate space. That's a really good one.
Good job, Chris.
That was good, dude. You know what I was thinking, Chris, while I was thinking, mine was inappropriate. Mine was how to set up your first Dungeons and Dragons campaign. But
that would work
that's
too.
what I was thinking. You know where my brain's at. This is good. Look, it even says, okay, here's what it's going to look like. Let us know if this is good. Price prediction, property search. Let's just say it's all good. I don't want to edit anything. I'm just going to click continue. And now it's going to make a really beautiful presentation. It's going to give me the options on the right to change up the colors. I kind of like the dark color it chose by default. But what do you guys think? Should I switch it to something different? Ooh, that light one looked nice.
Yeah.
Let's just go with that one. And now it's going to build it out, and it allows us to edit anything here, add pictures, and it has full AI capabilities. Chris, the only thing I don't know, is this connected to Bard, ChatGPT, Claude? What the hell is this connected to? Do you know?
I think this is GPT.
Okay.
And
most of them are. Yeah, and most of them are connected to the G. But this is it. And I can go
Is
in
this
here.
is this
Go
the
ahead.
paid version of Gamma? Sorry, or
Yeah,
free?
this is the paid version, but believe it or not, the non-paid version is just as good. So you don't have to pay for this. It'll give you a lot of things here. They have some other capabilities that that the paid version will give you. But look, check this out. This is amazing to me. If I need to write up a quick presentation or at least an outline to get started with, this will give it to me.
So
Chris,
let
how
me
many?
ask.
Go
Oh,
ahead, Elena.
sorry. Would this be a place to, if you are, because I haven't even started like a blog or a newsletter, would this be a good place to start like a blog or
Chris, would you
have it?
start a blog here?
I wouldn't. I would start a blog probably through, well, so like, not that we want to throw in more tools. I've used Go Charlie for a lot of stuff for like marketing content creation. And it's specifically built around just marketing content. So like, hey, I want to start a blog around this. I need these ideas, and it'll build all those things, or just in like Chat GPT, and telling it, here's what criteria, what should I know, what should I ask, what should I think about, and then take those and say, okay, I want a blog, give me 10 different areas I can write on, and then create those blogs for me.
And you said that's Charlie?
So that last piece I would do kind of in Chat GPT, but Go Charlie. Let me see if I've got the link here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a marketing assistant, but it's specifically around like creating campaigns. And so you can upload files, you can do things, but it helps with the image and the content kind of at the same time. So it'll create the logos, it'll create the process, but it's very much, and it'll directly push to the different platforms. So it's more of a marketing assistant.
I like it, man. This is really good. And if we go back to Gamma, I asked it to give me a listing presentation. Let's see what it does. I like the lighter version. Let's go with pink for now. And a listing presentation for real estate agents. I like this. And I put Temecula, Elena. It even chose, is this accurate? Or I don't even know where that is. Is it like
That's
downtown?
literally across from my lender Dave's office. That's
There you go.
literally across from his office.
I didn't even have to, I just put Temecula. This is great. So this is the capabilities, right? You just have to find the right tools. That's the thing. There was one that Chris, you told me about. It was Tome, right? I also love Tome.
Mm-hmm.
You were the first person to tell me about this one as well. Similar in presentation, right? Different style. This is where I would go back to, for instance, comparing Bard to Chat GPT, right? Now you're comparing Gamma to Tome. It's just going to depend on who's designing it and who's in the back, who's behind the scenes. But they're both great. Right? So if I go now to video, because that to me is probably, that's been the biggest challenge, because I have a large team that edits a lot of the stuff that we do for video, and I'm always looking to see, well, how can I increase our output for video edits, long form, short form, anything that has to do with video. And it's actually not even close to being there. But one of the ones that we use, or at least here and there test out, is video, video.ai. And what it does here, in essence, because when you upload it, it takes about 4 minutes to dice it up. So I didn't want to go through the whole process. But when you upload a video, you can upload one. Oh, it's doing it there. We can use a link from YouTube or upload a file. And then once the upload is done, it cuts them into little pieces for you. And there are the clips. You can go through all of them. It has captioning, and then you can choose the style. And then from there, you can decide which ones you're going to use, and then upload them directly into TikTok, Instagram, and so forth. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Does it matter how long the video is that you upload?
I've tried a 6-minute video, and then I've tried a 59-minute video. And it just depends, because it can't read a lot of some of the videos I have a lot of me sharing the screen. And if that happens a lot, it won't be able to share. It doesn't squeeze the screen into a vertical, right? Into a vertical shot. So it works better with talking head videos. So Chris, if you're doing a presentation, right, that would be great for you, like a 30-minute presentation. Then we could just export it over here, and then it would just grab little bits, and then we can showcase those. So April's got a question. Chris or Elena, is Jasper.ai still used, or is it outdated compared to these others you're mentioning?
That's a Chris question.
Chris, what do you think, buddy?
So I've heard, so we used to use Jasper a lot. We personally don't use it a lot anymore, but it still has a lot of different easy tools to help guide you through the process. So instead of requiring you, like with ChatGPT, to give it this, again, just personal opinion, without, like, ChatGPT requires you to give it every direction you want. Please make this a little more formal. Please change this. You have to know exactly what you're asking for. Where something like Jasper gives you all those choices on the screen, and it basically says, like, hey, do you want this to be more formal? Do you want this to be more informal? How is this? And so it kind of guides you through the process. So it's more of a guided content generation. And it does have, I would say, some fluffier and fancier features. You could probably get ChatGPT to do a similar thing, but you have to know all the prompts and exactly how you want to direct it. And for me, there's so many times that I hear, oh my gosh, that's an amazing prompt. I don't think of all these things. And so for me, Jasper and those tools can still be helpful because they help guide you down that path without you requiring you to, like, memorize and know all 500 things that you could potentially ask it. And so I still think they're very useful. They're pretty inexpensive tools. And if you're doing a lot of content, you can still get a lot of great stuff out of it. It's kind of like the idea of a lot of people using Grammarly. Grammarly is amazing. Again, kind of different for, like, editing and helping you go through stuff. You probably could do the same thing with ChatGPT, but again, you'd have to ask it everything you want it to do and create that experience.
Got it. Okay. I agree. I think it's the same. It's just they've already pre-prompted a lot of the stuff to make the responses better. So
and funny, yeah, if you go, just to throw that in there, if you go to Jasper.ai, the pop-up you're going to see on their login screen, when you scroll, the single pop-up that comes up says, what's the difference between Jasper and ChatGPT? So that's obviously a big kind of defender for their model. They're trying to keep their customers, and obviously ChatGPT is trying to go out there and gobble everything up.
And ChatGPT is really running a lot of the companies out there that are saying they've got AI. Look, I know some of us use Notion, right? So here's Notion, and you just type that little what is that, a forward? I don't know what the hell it is, but it's right here. Ask AI to write brainstorm ideas, blog posts. This is all connected to, right? See more. This is all connected to ChatGPT. So these are all prompts. Again, the key, and we identified this really early, the key to success in using AI are going to be the prompts. Same thing with Canva. For those of you who use Canva, it's got Magic Write. Same things right here. Let's see, Magic Write. And it's connected to ChatGPT. It's directly connected to it. So the thing that for us real estate agents that I'm looking for is, I'm going to show you Chime. And Chime was the first one to jump on this fully, even though Raya has been around for a while. If I go to the AI assistant, you see on the left, AI assistant, I can go over here, and they're going to charge me per certain use. There is 150 allotment. I can engage leads through it, but I can be very specific as to when I have it turned on. See, by text. If I click on this, I can say, well, be on for these amount of times, and what are the lead sources you want us responding to? Even has your company, Chris, Cast, on the Cast website. That's funny. But I can have it respond just to Facebook lead ads, or let's see if I can find those. Facebook, it can be very specific, or our Google PPC leads. And then I can say all type of leads. Well, let's just go with buyer and available conversation options. Which ones do you want me to do only? So it can go pretty deep, and the more it practices, the better it gets. That's the cool thing about machine learning, right? And so this is the cool way that I've seen it used. And let me turn that off. I'm sorry, let me turn that one off right there. Yes. And if I go to the second section where they're using it well, Elena, this is for you. They have a blog section where if I just decide what I want to do, either a featured listing or a blog, I can type in the title, any information I want, these tags, because these tags will help the AI determine what it's going to look like, and then this short, medium, long, and then generate, and it'll give me a blog. That's how easy, and this is obviously connected to GPT 3.5 specifically. But this is what we're starting to see real estate companies use this for. I think this is one of the many middle steps that we're going to have to go through to get to where I think we have a full-on like admin that's going to just perform all of this stuff for us, which is like marketing, social media, video editing, contracts. That's what I'm waiting for.
Tristan, do we want to spend any time talking about some of those other kind of like listing generation or things like that? Is that helpful?
Show me Prop Pal, dude.
Okay. So this is one super interesting. This was some 5 years of machine learning PhDs and previous CTO of NAR. I mean, and this is super interesting, different direction as far as an implementation. And so this is an idea of using AI to do the real estate processes differently. And they've got some fascinating stuff that I would say is coming that they've worked on as far as like an AI agent as a support for an agent. And so I'll go through here really quick. I'm just going to type in just any address, and then I'm going to upload just some random images, and then let's hit go. Say generate listing. And so this switches around what the process looks like. So this is using machine vision, a proprietary database. So it can tell if it's stainless steel appliances. It looks at the paint and can see if there's cracks. It looks at the quality of light and the quality of fixtures. And so not only is this going to build a listing description, but this is going through and understanding what's in all of the rooms. And so it knows right away what room is what's where. But when it writes the description, it's pulling out human nuance details. And it's been trained in millions and millions of photos specifically for real estate. And so it's a grand foyer. It knows like stainless steel appliances, and it knows it's granite countertops and not tile countertops. So it's actually looking at the quality down to the pixel of things. And then it puts everything into all the different RESO fields so that if you do show all fields, so anything that's there, it's ready for an assistant to go either put that in. If the MLS has given API access, it can just push it straight to the MLS from there, unless obviously edits are needed. But then it also does some things as far as making recommendations on what should happen with that house based on the quality and the things that are there. And so not that this doesn't replace a real estate agent. This is the idea that instead of getting the pictures and sitting down trying to figure out what am I going to say about this, it's upload pictures or upload video, have this, and then use this as a straw man or something to edit. Solves that blank page problem. And you kind of have, then you can get different, obviously, styles of descriptions of different things. This is the deepest that I've seen in the real estate space as far as a proprietary trained database, as far as how they have the information. That's not saying, hey, this is a living room. It's going and understanding what's actually there and the quality of things and making recommendations on what you can do. And then there's other things that they can do as well, as far as like uploading pictures and helping a client dream, what could this look like? What are different ways for this room or contemporary versions of it? So using AI to help clients dream as well. Because that's the listing piece is on the listing side, but the helping clients dream is sometimes on the buyer side, because some buyers just aren't that creative. So using AI to help somebody just go upload a picture, and we want to get some different styles with it and figure out what it could look like to help them see this house could be way better than what we're seeing in the pictures.
I love this, man. This is great.
And they did, so my Prop Pal, they did offer, when we came in to talk to them about the process, they did give a code. It's CTTA if anybody wants to try it. It's 95% off the first 90 days. So it's basically just giving it away for free to get people to use it and give feedback. And then if anybody wants to give feedback on, I think, any of these tools that we talk to, there's a lot of these companies that Tristan and I are talking to all the time, just to get feedback from them, what's happening, where are things going, and to understand how we can communicate better here. So again, any feedback on, I think, on any of these tools that you're seeing, we can always funnel that back to the companies themselves.
I like this, man. This is good. Elena, have you used this one?
I haven't. I actually have heard it through some of our webinars that we have done, but I haven't actually used it. So I'm going to be excited to use it.
I like that. All right, Chris,
Yeah.
what should we be expecting next as far as AI? There's only, what, 3.5 months left for this year. Anything around the corner that we should be excited about?
It depends how big the corner is. I mean, that's kind of what we're all waiting for, are these experiences to roll out. I've seen
the last year we had the big corner, which was the release of ChatGPT for everyone, right? But what are you seeing is coming out like that?
So there's some stuff built that there's lots of debate as far as when it's going to be released. I would say a couple things that are going to be happening in the next year that may or may not be related just to real estate AI. But the next version of the ChatGPT plugins, that if that gets released, I think that'll be absolutely game changing. There was an article that 100 Y Combinator funded companies will go out of business right away if they release the next version of the ChatGPT plugins, because of how complex it is and how much it does for accomplishing full tasks that a lot of other companies just will cease to exist because their products aren't needed anymore. And so they said they're not releasing it right now because of computing power concerns. Again, there's lots of other stuff happening in the computing world. Some other stuff, if we think about, again, not necessarily specific real estate, but what AI is affecting in the broader context, self-driving cars. We have self-driving taxis rolling out in more cities in the US. And then you think of Elon's, the boring company that bores those tunnels underneath the ground. And it may not sound like a lot, but in the last couple of years, that was 2 million people rode those with no weather, no traffic, and underneath the Las Vegas Strip. And they got approval to roll out another 60 some miles and 80 stops. That was only one stop that did those 2 million people with no taxis. And they're about to start going on 80 more stops. And so when you start building an entire network infrastructure that technically doesn't require drivers, there's no traffic, no accidents, no weather, we're starting to see these things come together. And AI is a huge piece of what Tesla does, what the Boring Company does, what all the things that Elon does. I mean, most of those companies are really AI companies with physical products that they run. And then the other piece, as far as the great experiences, I've talked to so many people as far as what they're building and when they're rolling it out. I mean, almost anything is possible today, but it's still super technical. And so figuring and seeing when they start to roll these out, we get to experience them. Can't wait for the next emotional adoption, like what ChatGPT was.
I love that. The great experiences are the key. Elena, what about you? How are you going to be using AI just the next few months?
I definitely want to integrate AI into my CRM. So I'll be definitely reaching out to both of you to help me with that. I think that's probably my next big step. I mean, I have to take it in steps, but
I like it. I think
I
think for you going into ChatGPT and making a chat that's an Elena Flores chat, and then through there making sure that you can create smart plans that are according to your voice tonality, right? I think that would be key. And then you can extract them over to KV Core, Chime, wherever you're at, or Follow Bus, right? I like that.
Which one do you say of one or the other, Chime or Follow Bus?
I like the flexibility of Follow Bus, right? Because it integrates with so much. So I probably say Follow Up Boss, but if you need a website, probably Chime. Either one is great. I use both, so it makes it easy for me. But I think, dude, I'm excited. I'm just excited of where we're heading. I want it to already be there. I don't want to have to wait through all this. I just want to go. But anyway, everyone, thank you for joining us. If you have questions about the organization, which this whole thing was brought to you by, hit up Elena Elena's expanding her team and her presence in Temecula. Chris and I are running the back end of the organization for the US. Elena, what's your information there if people want to get a hold of you? Oh, Valerie was on here too. Valerie, I didn't know you were on here. I dropped your name earlier on. I thought you were brilliant, by the way. So congrats on being brilliant, Valerie. But if you have any questions, reach out to Elena. I know Dave's on here as well. So there you go. Elena put up her cell phone number. Chris, let's do another one at the end of this year, like December-ish, just to see where AI is at the end and what's around the corner for 2024.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Talk
you.
soon.
Thanks.
See you, everyone.